Again, this is Christian, the author of Autospotting, an EBS optimizer, cloud computing optimization software. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to install EBS optimizer in your AWS account. You just have to search for it in the console. And there is a bit of there are a few events, but basically you just have to pick the EBS optimizer from here. And EBS optimizer comes from the marketplace, so you have to follow the usual marketplace installation process. You can go and read on the marketplace everything about it, how it works. I'm just going to show you how it works on a very simple basis. So we just install it in the account. We have to accept the terms, and this will take a minute if I haven't already done it. If it's the first time, this will happen like this. If you install it for a second time, it will be faster. Okay, so we are back. EBS optimizer has been subscribed to on the marketplace. We can now continue to the configuration. And for the configuration, we have CloudFormation, and we continue to launch. And we have one-click install, or we can download the template and run it ourselves. The recommendation is, if you're using the UI, we can just do the one-click installation, and that's what I'm going to demo now. So the way it works, we have a template that's populated automatically. We just have to select it. We select the stack name as default, and then we have a bunch of flags. We can run it in dry run mode, which will just log what it would do, or we could also run it in normal mode, as it's by default. The way it works is it would run every 5 minutes, and when it runs, it's looking at the EBS volumes in your account. And if you have any existing volumes that are GP2, they could be converted to GP3 for 20% savings in most cases, and higher performance. So you get better IOPS and better throughput from GP3 by default. So for the most cases, it's a beneficial change. What changes is over the size of the volumes, GP2 becomes more performant, and at 170 gigabytes, the throughput grows higher than the throughput of GP3. So over 170 gigabytes, your GP2 would be a bit faster when it comes to the throughput. And when it comes to IOPS, that cutover is at 1 terabyte. So for volumes below 100 gigs, the GP3 will be faster from both IOPS and throughput performance. In between 100 gigs and 1 terabyte, you will have GP2 IOPS more than GP3, but not you will have throughput, but not IOPS higher. So what we can do is, when we provision the GP3 volume, we can configure the throughput and IOPS to match the GP2 burst throughput. So what that allows us is to get the same performance from the GP3 volumes. For these larger volumes, you have to pay a little extra for the GP3 to match what you get from that size of GP2, but it's still the percentages are, if you look at the savings, you still get savings even after you compensate for this performance. If you do not compensate, you will get slightly less performance from the GP3, but you get the full 20% discount. If you compensate, in the worst case, you get around 8% discount at 1 terabyte and over. Okay, so these are what these two flags are doing. By default, we compensate for both because we want not to lose performance, but then we not fully optimize for the cost. The next thing is setting a tag on the function with a key and value. We can keep those as they are. There are some sizing of the memory and how many logs we keep, and also the number of regions. So some customers try to reduce the number of regions. It's sometimes they just run in one region and they want to keep that one and avoid any networking costs across regions whenever we do these API calls. And what else we have is the marketplace Docker registry and the image and the version we have. And also this flag is not used yet, but for the next version, I'm going to implement a tag filtering model in which you will be able to set some tags on the volumes if you want them to be left alone, or in the opposite way, if you want to opt in, if you want them to be taken into account. So this is EBS Optimizer. Essentially, the main important things are matching the throughput and IOPS of the GP2. And I didn't mention another thing it does is for IO1 and IO2 volumes. So it also looks at those volumes, and for those volumes, the price is pretty steep if you look at them. And when you can, so they have a certain range of IOPS that you can configure. So the range is for IO1 is, I think, up to 64,000 IOPS. And for IO2, it comes around 256,000 IOPS. And GP3 goes only up to 16,000 IOPS. So there may be cases where you have IO1 and IO2 volumes provisioned with an IOPS within the range of GP3. And EBS Optimizer will see those and will convert them to GP3. And when it happens, you do not lose IOPS, but you get to pay significantly less for those volumes. So the price can be as low as 85% cost savings if you convert IO1 and IO2 to GP3, if they are within the range of GP3 of IOPS and throughput. So yeah, that's something that I also wanted to mention, that the tool will convert also IO1 and IO2 volumes automatically. And we can now go ahead and install it in your account, in the account. There is no additional configuration for this tool, at least not for now. And it will be created in the account and it will run every 5 minutes. And once it runs, it looks at the existing volumes in the account. So, I mean, now it's going to take a couple of minutes to install. I'm now going to look at the instances I have here. So I'm going to show you how EBS Optimizer works against this instance. So every instance you have in AWS needs to have some storage. So this is the root device. If we look at EBS volumes, I have here 2 volumes in the account. This one is attached to my instance. This one is one that I had from before. I mean, I could just delete it. It's not in use. But yeah. let's keep it back to this volume. So this volume is a GP2. It has 100 IOPS, and there is no throughput configured for it. Once EBS Optimizer is deployed in the account, this volume will be converted to GP3, and it will have 3,000 IOPS and 200 or 125 megabytes per second throughput. Hopefully the installation completed. So we have EBS Optimizer installed in the account, and the volume is still GP2 because it didn't get to run yet. What we can do is wait for that 5-minute cycle to run, or we could also run at, like, to look at the Lambda function. So we have this Lambda function that implements everything. So what we can do is we can just trigger this Lambda function with a test event. It doesn't really matter what kind of event it is. We just run it. And if we look at the logs, it will show the configuration, and it will show the cost of the volume. It's a GP2. It costs this much per month. And then it's going to show the configuration. And it says it's a GP3 now. So we can now go to the volumes, and it shows the GP3 with this much IOPS and this much throughput. And yeah, this is what it does. It's as simple as that. You just install it in your account, and if you launch a new instance, eventually its volumes will be replaced with GP3. That's it. Thank you so much for your attention, and have fun with the EBS Optimizer.